Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia. You may know me as the carnivore ballerina. I have finally got around to making this floor bar video. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll know I go on about this. Anytime anyone asks me how to improve their technique or strengthen, especially at home, if you just don't have enough classes or you just want to do extra training at home, I always point them in the direction of this floor bar. There's just one problem though. There's a catch. It's in Russian, I know. So I've taken the liberty, I've translated it is my point. So I've translated it so that you don't have to crane your neck over each time you're trying to do the exercise and figure out what in the world she's saying. So I've done that and I've played it through. So the format of this video is me translating what she's saying. Then I also explain the combination that she's going to say do, because she doesn't explain all the combinations. She just does it, so you kind of have to watch it and then go back and rewatch it and whatever. It just takes up a lot of time. So the format of the video is me talking over her, me explaining the combination, and then the combination with the music running through. So anytime that I'm talking, the combination won't be playing. So you can either skip through my talking to get to the combination, or you can listen to me talking and explaining the stuff, which I highly recommend, as a lot of these things are difficult, and then you get to the combination at the end of it. Yeah, I hope that made sense. One more thing I want to mention is this is a bit advanced. So if you're not flexible to a certain extent, you'll see in a minute what I mean by that. This could be difficult, especially everything that is face down. So if you can't do any of those things, I would recommend doing all the exercises but only facing up. And then one more thing I want to mention is I created a floor bar inspired by this with some more simplified exercises targeting certain things, as well as basically following through this one. So it's very similar, but not quite. And this you can find on my series on my TikTok account. So if you go to my profile under the series button, you can find it. I also made a exercise at home routine. So whether you're a professional or not, both things are very beneficial. So if you want to go and find those made by me, you can. And I once again explain through everything, but I also make some things simpler, as you'll see soon. A lot of these things are very difficult to do if you are not ready for them. With all this being said, here's the translation. So here she's just saying, "Hi friends, I would love to start our first meeting with something very useful, and in her opinion the most useful thing for ballet dancers or just anyone who wants to keep fit with the Boris Knyazev gymnastics. The methodology that he uses makes it easier to recover from an injury, easier to get in shape, or just in general to keep fit or strengthen. The point of all this is that we feel our body, we can begin to understand it and how to control it, and even resolve some issues. If you have a problem with joints or if you're not flexible enough, this helps with mobility." So for ballet dancers, the most important thing in this method or takeaway is to feel your inner thighs. Often people will ask her how in the world she can get her legs up to 180 degrees and hold it there. Not just kicking up your leg, but to actually put it up there and hold it there. And to her, the answer is very simple. You need to train your inner thighs, and that's what the whole Boris Knyazev methodology is based upon, and that's what we'll be doing today. So she'll begin to explain and show the exercises, and hopefully they'll be understandable. So before we start any of the exercises, we need to warm up. Her favorite warm up is for the back, because the back is responsible for our legs and everything in our body. And I've said this a lot on my TikTok. Anyways, so the first thing that we're going to do is stretch our backs. We're not just going to be bending forward. We're going to be reaching over as if we have an obstacle in front of us. So we'll feel as if we're trying to go over something. Like we're doing it over an ellipse. So we're bending forward and stretching our back, and we need to feel the stretch kind of from the mid to lower back, so right where she's pointing to. And then make sure your feet are together, and then you come back up pretty slowly with a straight back. Now with your feet at shoulder width apart, stretching our back very slowly, we'll be going in a full circle one way, reaching up, kind of trying to lengthen your back bones apart, and then you'll be doing the same exact circle the other way. Next, with one foot turned in and one foot turned out, we'll be reaching to the side to stretch our lats. You may feel a crack in this, and you'll be feeling it on your hip bone. You can also lift your arm, which I believe she does later on, just to feel a bit more of a pull. And yeah, you do that to both sides. Then you'll be just reaching forwards with your head down, and she'll be showing it on profile now. So you want your back as flat and straight as possible, and then you just keep that line with your arm and your head going. So now she's going to show it with music. So the first exercise that we'll be doing, we'll be laying on our back, and we don't need a mat, we don't need anything apart from the floor, so you'll just be laying down. So you'll have your legs straight on the ground, and you'll just be doing these pulses, bring your knees up. I want to emphasize having straight legs when they're on the ground. And then you're going to do the same thing, but bring your chest up. You want it to be straight. You don't want it to be curved or arched too much. You want a fine, perfect, straight back. And then the last thing you're going to do is do the same pulse, but then rotate to the side so that you're warming up the back, and your knees have to be touching and together here. You don't want them apart or loose. Now, she doesn't explain the exercise, so I will. The combination is simply 2 of these pulses up, 2 of the pulses up with your chest, and then you twist to the side, and you do the same to the left by twisting to the other side. And then you'll be doing 4 of the pulses at the end, and then 4 with your chest, and then that's it. And she recommends doing it 2 to 3 times. I think for a beginner, doing it twice is fine. Flipping over onto your stomach, you're going to basically be doing the same thing, except instead of coming up with your chest, you're going to be flexing your feet. I want to emphasize straightening your knees. She's just saying here how many times that you should do it. I think you should do it the same amount of times that you did it facing up as facing down. And yeah, it's basically the same combination. Once again, she's just saying how many times that you should do it. She's saying 3 to 4 times. As a beginner, I think 2 is fine. Next, we're going to be doing these tendus, and I highly recommend doing this stretch that I have on my TikTok, which that's a whole nother story. I'll post it at another time. The tendu combination is 2 tendus front. On the third tendu, you flex your foot, and then you close. Once again, 2 tendus front, and on the third tendu, you bring it back to coup de pied, you open, and then you close the tendu, and you're doing this front and side. Now, she doesn't say this, but I think it's very important to make sure that your bottom leg knee, so your supposed standing leg knee, is very straight, and then you're only feeling and using your inner thigh muscles, and then when you're opening, when you bring back to coup de pied, you're traveling with your knee pulling back first, and then when you reopen from the coup de pied to the tendu, make sure that your knee is pushing back and going last. Here she's just explaining that you should be using and feeling your inner thigh muscles for all of these exercises. You should be feeling the inner thigh muscles, as they will help with your height and your general ballet technique, and to use it for your ballet health and not to harm it. Now, she's going to be doing the exact same thing facing down. I do want to emphasize, if you're a beginner to ballet, to attempt this with a bit of caution, as your hips can be a bit more unsteady or unstable. So if that's your case, attempt this a bit more carefully. And now for the tendu exercise, only do it once, as she says it is quite effective. There's no need to do it twice unless you really want to. Now the next exercise that she's doing is basically a plie, but it's a bit different, as we're only using our inner thigh muscles and not other muscles that you would typically use when you're doing it at the bar. So it's going to be 2 times demi-plie in first position, and then you're going to straighten your knees and flex and point, and then you're going to do the exact same thing in second position, and then you're going to repeat this whole thing with a chest lift, so you'll be raising your chest with it. And once again, I just want to emphasize inner thigh muscles, and you want to have your knees pushing towards touching the ground. That would be the main goal. Of course, at the beginning, don't worry if that doesn't happen. It's pretty darn difficult. So with that idea in mind and using your inner thigh muscles, you can go ahead and do this exercise. If you are a beginner, I don't recommend doing it facing down. She's just saying to do this exercise 2 to 3 times and then flipping over and doing it facing down. So the next exercise is going to be great for your hips. Here she's just saying to do it 2 to 3 times. It's going to be great for your hips, and you're going to be laying flat on your back with your knees and legs very straight, and you're going to be turning in and turning out. So you'll see from a turned in position, you'll turn out, and then you'll turn in. And you're going to do that twice. And then you're going to do it at around 40 degrees. The same exact thing, turning out, turning in, turning out, and turning in. And then at 90 degrees, turn out, turn in, turn out, and hold. Then you're going to drop your leg to the side. I want to emphasize, do not move your hips. And then you're going to do that to the other side. And then you're going to let both legs drop. Do not just let them drop. A controlled drop to a width that is comfortable. And then when you're coming back up to do these open and closing, you should only be feeling your inner thigh muscles. So that is the combination, and I recommend doing this twice if possible, starting off once and then twice. Flipping over, you're going to do the exact same thing face down. However, I recommend putting something under your hip bones as it can be fairly painful. Yeah, here she's saying to grab a towel or a mat because it hurts and you don't want your bones digging into the floor. So like I said, use a mat if you need to, or a towel, and you place it right under your hips. So the next exercise is going to kind of be our adagio. And this one, I want to say, make sure that your hips are very stable in doing any of these exercises. You don't want any of your hip, your back, or your shoulders lifting off the ground, as with any of these exercises. So you'll be starting in a pointed feet for fifth position, and you're going to do développé front to 40 degrees. You're going to open to the side without moving your hips, go back to front, round to side, back to front, and you're going to round to side. Now you're going to do 2 rond de jambes, and then you're going to close to fifth back, and then you're going to do the same thing but starting to the side. So développé side, bring it to the front, go back to side, round to front, round to side, round to front one more time, close to coup de pied, your knee first, open to the side, and then you're going to go to the left. Once again, make sure your hips are stable. You are leading with your heel in that développé, leaving the knee back and staying as turned out as possible with stable hips. Now she's going to do it to 90 degrees. If you are not stable or strong enough, do it once again to 40 degrees.
Еще. Последний раз.
So after the adagio, she recommends stretching, so hugging your knees and holding that for a good 30-ish seconds, and then rolling onto your back and basically doing the same thing, but on your back. I recommend, once again, doing this on a mat, as you don't want your back bones digging into the floor. So pulling your knees as close to your chest as possible, and she says hold this for about 50 seconds. From there, you're going to open your knees and kind of rotate them out so you're getting a bit of mobility, and then kind of closing them in a plie. And doing this, she says, about 7 times. So it's not an exercise, it's more of just warming up the hips and getting more mobility so that you're not tightening during the exercises, but flexible, becoming more flexible and strengthening and improving on your mobility and flexibility. Then stretching forward with flexed feet and holding this, she says, for about a minute. She says it's painful, but it's very beneficial. So with a straight and flat back. And then we're going to do this face down, so stomach touching the ground. Once again, I don't recommend doing this, as you need a lot more stability in your hips. Your hips are a lot more mobile here, so you can attempt it. Just be a lot more aware of your body and what's moving up and around. Also, I recommend using a mat with this one. Once again, after the adagio, you're going to want to stretch. She recommends this frog sit and arching your back. So holding this for around 20 to 30 seconds. I don't think holding it for so long is a great idea. You don't want to become stiff and hurt your bones. She does these little ankle things, which is good. So you want to make sure you're winging your feet throughout the whole exercise combination anyways. Just want to throw that in there. And then she's going to do some back stretching. So reaching as forward as possible and then stretching your back by, of course, sitting on your heels. And that is it. Thank you for watching. I hope the translation was good, and I hope that this video was helpful. I know that when I was first recommended to do this floor bar, I put it off for, I think, a good month or two even, just because it was in Russian, and it does take forever to get through it if you want to read the subtitles. I've watched it about 100 times now, so I know what she's explaining and what she's saying, as well as my Russian understanding skills are a lot better than they were. It was non-existent. Now I can, for the most part, understand some. So yeah, let me know if this was helpful, and I hope to see you soon.